Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel, Starting Sober at 50. My name is Thomas Wallington, and today I'll be doing part 2 of my experience with AA. I did part 1 yesterday, so I'd kind of like to start kind of where I left off. One of the things that I noticed while going to AA was I felt that it was either like a cult or some kind of something to do with religion. I felt when I was in there, they were doing basically the same things that you would do in a Catholic church, pretty much. There's an opening prayer, which is Serenity Prayer. Passing the basket around, closing prayer, which is the Lord's Prayer. That's how they close their meetings out. The funding that they get, of course, with churches and with groups like AA, churches spend it on, stuff they need to get fixed in the church, a bunch of other things, rent, upkeep, everything. AA spends their money on funding for refreshments and documentation and coins and stuff that you can earn through your sobriety. So I kind of see both of them in like a religious based thing, whatever you want to call it, cult. When AA first came out, the first edition was written in 1939. The second edition was written in 1955, and it was Christian-based. Now they've added a lot of other things into it now. There's two types of meetings. There's open meetings and there's closed meetings. Open meetings are for alcoholics and their guests. Closed meetings are for just alcoholics, without any guests or anything like that. They have a bunch of meetings. This is probably why that, when I was saying yesterday that there's always a meeting from, the nighttime to the morning. This is what I was talking about. They have so many different meetings. They have a topic discussion meeting. They have a speaker meeting. They have a big book study. They have a 12-step studies, which includes the 12 steps and 12 traditions. They have a men's group. They have a women's group. They have a gay and lesbian groups. They have a young people's group. They have an old-timers group, and they even have special interest groups for musicians, celebrities, doctors, and lawyers. Usually those are private groups done at one of the, participants' homes. They also have atheist and agnostic groups. I don't know that much about atheism and stuff like that. I don't know how being in a group that's a 12-step program, how they would relate to the religious aspect or spiritual aspect of the group. I always wondered that. There's other groups that are 12-step groups as well. They kind of followed, AA's lead. And there's groups like Gamblers Anonymous, NA, Narcotics Anonymous. There's Food Addiction Anonymous. There's all kinds of different groups that have spawned off from this, basically based on the essential 12 steps that AA has provided in their literature. Plus, you can also, AA there's tons of books out there besides just the big book. There's books, Living Sober, Daily Reflections. Actually, I own those too, so I've read them both several times. And that's pretty much the groups and stuff like that. Their expectations now. They have usually there's something stating that you should go to 90 meetings in 90 days. I think that's quite excessive. 90 meetings in 90 days. I mean, think about it logically, that'd be very difficult. But once again, I know people that have actually got addicted to AA and will go to like 2-3 meetings a day, go on holidays. I mean, they leave their families, they go for hours, and stuff like that. And that just kind of that blows my mind too, is how you can just leave your family and just, go to your group, which is essentially your family as well. I think one of the main problems that I had with AA was I would compare myself. I was in the military for 6 years. I've always been used to things that like were regimented, laid out in front of you. You weren't looking 50 million directions. I'm hyper vigilant. I like things structured in order, even though there are some, there is structure and order to some of these groups. The one thing that I couldn't really understand though is like with all these groups, some people can go to some groups, some people can go to the others or whatever, depending upon, what what they feel comfortable with. But I think a person that needs to go to a meeting, and let's say it's just for an example, a gay and lesbian meeting, and they're not gay, but they need to go to a meeting because they need to get in there. They need to talk about something. They need to hear something or whatever. I think that they should actually be allowed to just go in. Like anybody should be able to go in anyone's meetings. I don't know how the hierarchy and everything goes with this, but that's one of the things that kind of like irritated me about AA is that there are specifics, and it was just kind of weird that if they're all accepting and open arms and this and that you should be able to like go where you want to go. But that's just the way they do things, I guess. One of the things that I didn't mention in the last episode was the reason why I finally decided to stop going to AA. It was a combination of things. It was my sponsor. I told you that we didn't agree on things, and he went his way and I went mine. But secondly, I went to a group one time that I actually liked, and there was this guy. He'd come in every week, dressed to the nines. He had been sober, I think, 3-4 years maybe. And when they ask, does anyone have anything to share? This guy raises his hand, and he starts going into this story about how he slipped. He went to a Major League Baseball game with his buddies, and he had a couple beers, this and that. He felt so guilty. Then he he started crying. During the meeting, he started crying. And as I'm looking around the room, as soon as he said that he slipped and he started drinking, everyone was just like, wow, this is horrible. They gave him that look like you would give somebody that, you were sitting next to and they said they had the Black Plague or whatever, and you just, immediately you got to go get away from them or whatever. But I felt so bad for that guy because he poured his heart out to everybody. Everybody in that room, he poured his heart out to. And I don't even remember one person after that meeting that actually went up to him and said, hey, things happen, whatever, just move forward, thanks for sharing, whatever. They do that when you share something, they'll say thanks for sharing. But I didn't see one person do that. I didn't see one person go up to this guy. And they knew him. They've seen him in there before. It wasn't some like a new guy just came in off the street. Not that makes any difference either, because everybody needs help. But that was the one thing. Two things actually. The third was I had a blow up at a meeting. These people were just so agitating me so bad. I started asking questions during the meeting, and I could tell some of these people were getting not them directly questions, but the group leader and stuff like that. And we were both like getting heated. And I got so mad that I just stood up, like practically pushed my chair across the room, cursed them all off, said, you guys are all, effing crazy, you're nuts, you're friggin' loonies. I don't want anything to do with this anymore. This is crazy. And the thing is that, after I did all that, and I'm walking out the door, I hear them say, come on back. Like it was like a kick in the ass, it was just like, no matter how much I went off or whatever, I made myself look like a jerk. And they were just kind of acknowledging by saying, come on back, and that kind of irritated me. But the thing is like, why? And that was a defining moment of not going back in. But the three things they teach you, stay away from people, places, and things that will cause you to pick up or use again. They were the people that I was around, that I associated myself with. Didn't talk to any of my friends, really that often at all. So that was one of my triggers. Places. Every single time I went to a meeting, I'd remind myself why I was going there, what I was going to be listening to while I was in there, and that became a trigger. And then things. I haven't really figured out the thing part of it yet, because I believe if you take away the problem won't exist. So if you don't go buy alcohol, you're going to be safe. You're not going to need that thing, because you don't have it now. You're not going to have it. So those are the things that led me to my decision to try other avenues along my travels to sobriety. But there was one thing that stuck out in my mind early in my meetings I was going to. A lot of the homeless people would come in, from outside when it was really cold, and they'd walk behind, where the speaker was, and make their way over to the coffee to get some hot coffee. They get a cup or two or whatever, and then they would leave. And I remember this one guy. He was beat up. I mean, he was homeless, or he had a bunch of things going on, mental issues and everything. He walks behind the speaker, and he stops, and he just interrupts, and he goes, I just want all of you to know that if you keep coming here and doing the right thing, you won't end up like me. And everyone just kind of looked at each other, and he goes, think about this. I'm a ghost. I'm a ghost. And the only time you're going to ever see me again is if I come back to haunt you. So the guy went and got his coffee, and then he walked back out. I sat there with my mouth open for about 30 seconds trying to think and digest what this guy was saying. And I can see how that can easily turn in to something horrible with your addiction, mental health issues, this and that. That I could be that guy. You know, he was probably in his like late 60s. But when he said that, that was really one of the things that I'll never forget. So there were some positive things that I got out of the program. Like I said, I'm not trying to bash the program. It's helped, so many people. Lifestyles have been changed, just not mine. My lifestyle I changed on my own. But with that being said, this will complete my part 2 of this video. If you have any questions, comments, or anything, post them below. Whatever you want, whether you like this video or not, give it a thumbs up or thumbs down, if it was useful. And, please subscribe to this channel. And if you have any ideas that you'd like me to talk about, just let me know. I have a bunch of things that I have for the future. So, but please, feel free to reach out and contact me. And as I usually close, my videos, I always say that if you know somebody, or you are that somebody that needs help, whether you're having feelings of committing suicide, or harming yourself or harming others, please reach out to the National Suicide Hotline, which is 1-800-273-8255. It'll be at the end of my video. Like always, have a great day. Thanks for watching. Peace.